Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the E.N.G Media Podcast. We have a very exciting guest, Horacio with Boop. For those of you just joining the podcast, I am Christian Gannon, the co-founder of E.N.G Media, and we specialize in helping software and tech companies scale their revenue. If you want to learn how to take your software tech business to the next level, make sure to stick around. So let's get right into it. I understand Boop is redefining how teams turn event conversations into real business outcomes by capturing contacts and interests in the moment, then instantly following up with personalized messages. Boop ensures your warmest leads don't go cold. Whether you're a startup or an enterprise, Boop fits seamlessly into your event strategy with QR-based contact capture, SMS automation, and zero app friction. It's the fastest way to turn real-time conversations into meetings, pipelines, and closed deals. Can you share more about your business, the services you offer, and your role within it?
Yeah, of course. And thanks for having me. Just a little bit about my background. I was going to a lot of conferences and events, kept running into friction with all of the digital tooling. Pretty much every single one that I used was all web-based or app-based. And so instead, we built a solution over QR to automated text. And so from there, anyone can go ahead and go to our website, set up QR codes that will initiate automatic texts and whether it be a survey or a digital profile, depending on what information you're trying to capture and share. If you're trying to share your digital profile, you're able to add your business information to the profile and will automatically text and connect you. If you're exhibiting or sponsoring at a conference or event, we automatically will generate QR code surveys. And so typically in the past, the companies that we've worked with have used that at their activations to capture a little bit more robust marketing data by asking a few qualifying questions so that they can pass it on to their sales or marketing.
That's awesome. And thank you so much for sharing. I actually did look at some of your LinkedIn posts recently, and something that caught my eye was the percentage of people that actually fill out the whole form. Could you talk a little bit about that and how that kind of happens? Because I think that's kind of incredible in the numbers, and I don't remember the exact number, but maybe you could elaborate.
Yeah, so from our data set in the field, we've seen about a 90% completion rate. We've designed the survey since they are over text messages and they're really easy to initiate and engage with. It just really makes for an overall better experience. And since it's one text at a time, it just makes it a lot less burdensome to fill out a survey when you're at an in-person event or conference. The typical kind of current setups are usually like a long web form or a web page, and there's just a lot more friction. And so, by providing a much more engaging and easier to use end experience, we've seen a pretty high completion rate on our surveys.
That's awesome. And from your perspective right now, what trends are you seeing in event technology and kind of client engagement automation overall?
Yeah, so we're seeing a huge increase in the use of artificial intelligence and just being able to really start to map that event spend to pipeline generation. I know that previously the tech wasn't quite there yet, but now as AI is advancing, it's becoming a lot easier to create and implement these tools to be able to measure your event spend and tie it to revenue outcomes.
100%. I think you touched on something I don't want to glaze over is the event spend. I think a lot of companies are spending a lot of money on events to go and set up and then backdrops and swag and merchandise, right? And if there's no outcome from that or no ROI, then why are we running the event, right? That's what I think, and that's what I've heard across the space from my end as well.
Yeah, and just e- typically, I mean, in the past there hadn't been as much scrutiny, but as the tooling starts to get there, yeah, like you're saying, if you're spending all this money on these events, the tooling is definitely there to generate the outcomes and measure them, and so might as well start layering in some of this advanced tooling when it comes to events, considering where everything else is in the digital marketing landscape.
Definitely. And I know we're pretty early on and you have early access right now, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
And what has that early traction looked like? Which use cases or events have maybe surprised you the most?
Yeah, so we've worked directly with some enterprises at conferences like South by Consensus, and some bigger business conferences. And I would say that those are probably the most effective just because of the high volume of foot traffic and interactions. It gives us sort of a very robust data set and insights, because those conferences also are a little bit more diverse than the extremely sort of niche events. So I would definitely say the bigger business conferences have been the best for what we've been seeing.
Of course. And that makes a lot of sense. And my follow-up is, since you are in early access right now, what's been the most effective way of getting it into the hands of users like those enterprises that you're talking about? Are you seeing traction through outbound, LinkedIn, agency partnerships, or maybe even just inbound?
It's a combination of outbound and inbound. Mostly just anyone who's going to a conference or event either messages me or books some time, and then we set up the potential pilot for a conference or event. It's pretty low lift, doesn't require any app installs, and can be easily deployed to any on-site activation since it's just QR codes.
That's awesome. And that's a very unique marketing strategy, especially in the industry right now. I mean, a low lift marketing strategy is hard to find that actually works, right? At least from my end and what we've worked with in the past.
Yeah, a lot of the current tooling out there is really, I think, overselling sort of this AI hype train, and the implementations is a little bit harder than you want. The outcomes seem to be overpromised. It's a lot more expensive than you'd like, and so I think just having something that people can immediately try, test out, and get value from is kind of our differentiator.
100%. And switching a little bit more to the personal side, what's your typical day to day look like as a founder? How are you splitting time between product growth and long term vision?
Yeah, so I typically wake up and work out just to get the day started off right. And then the rest of the time I spend, it's really just a lot of, at this point now that the product is like early stage, just talking with users and potential customers, and making sure that everything's going smoothly and really making sure that everything's working. So I would say about 80% of the time is just focusing, like I said, on usage and making sure everything's going well.
100%. I think that's so important, especially in tech right now, is hearing from the users and avoiding scope creep is something that I've heard a lot across the podcast so far is there's a lot of features and a lot of companies that don't even get used, right? And they paid a software dev X amount of money to build it and use all their time when they could have been using it in a different aspect. So it's awesome that you're connecting with a lot of the users. And when you think about success today, what metrics or signals matter most to you and the team?
So for our product, since it is very important that we drive like measurable business outcomes from these events,
Mhm.
just being able to count the amount of follow-up meetings that are set from events, and so it is one of those things where it's like the timeline and it's quite long. So we it takes like 3 to 6 months to really see through, and so just being able to 3 to 6 months from now see what sort of outcomes come from our QR codes.
Of course. And I bet you guys are probably building case studies too, in that sense of the people that you're working with right now, so that you do have social proof when you release full access. And how has that kind of been in that process as well?
Yeah, so you're exactly right. We're currently working with some partners to deploy it, and it's going pretty well. Everything's running smoothly. Just typically work directly with them in Slack, message back and forth if there's anything. So um, I would say that the current stage that we're at, where you're able to just work directly with the customers using like channels like Slack, and where it's like best to meet them where their workflows are, is probably been the most effective and uh, best.
Definitely. And that makes a lot of sense. I think Slack is one of the best ways to communicate with customers and end users across the board. I think it's the easiest way to communicate, but we don't need to get too deep into Slack. I think everyone knows what that is. But what's coming next for Boop in the next 6 to 12 months? Are there any big product launches, feature updates, or strategic initiatives you're excited about?
Yeah, so we're currently starting to do the entire event experiences. So just being able to power the entire event experience from the event organizer, sponsor, and attendee side. So connecting people throughout the event experience is the long-term goal and vision, and we're starting to implement and work directly with event partners on that.
Of course. And are there people on your team that have had like explicit event experience? I know you have some event experience and a long background of going to events. Is there anyone else on your team that you're just like, man, if I didn't have them on my team, I don't know where some of these ideas would come from?
Not directly from my team, but a lot of
Mhm.
it comes directly from customers and users. And so, yeah, I think that that's been the biggest thing is just once people start using it and giving feedback is where a lot of the ideas have come from out in the field.
Of course. And going even a deeper level, the end user is it usually coordinators, event managers, event planners, or maybe all of the above, directors and above as well.
Yeah, so we've worked with all different event stakeholders, whether it be the organizer, the sponsor, or even just attendees. So it just depends on what the event objective is, and we can align with that to either generate more leads, help attendees connect, or even just organize the whole event.
Of course, of course. And kind of going into my last question, it's a fun one, but a tough one. Hypothetically, if you had a magic wand and could solve just one problem within the business right now, what would that be?
A million customers.
Of course. I think that's something, especially in startups, that is the biggest solution, right? If you can drive revenue, then we can keep building and building even better products and better solutions. But if people want to connect with you or learn more about what Boop is doing, where could they go and how could they connect?
Yeah, so either visit the website boop.me or message me on LinkedIn at Horacio Rilo.
Awesome. I will leave the links into the description of Boop's website as well as Racio's LinkedIn. But I highly recommend you check out Boop and the incredible things they're doing in this space. But other than that, thank you again for taking the time and sharing your insights today. And we will see you guys on the next video.